Hi and good afternoon. I'm Khalid Bhatti with a new vlog. And today we will discuss the women protest in Iran. These protests started in September when a 22 years old young woman, a Kurdish Iranian woman, was died in the custody of the morality police. This is police is specially tasked to implement the Islamic dress code and the mandatory scarf for the women to wear. And the, this morality police arrested this woman from a street for violating the dress code and for not properly wearing the scarf because her hair was visible. And they bring her to the they took her to the police station, and then she died there. And the human rights campaigners and the women activists, they alleged that she was killed by as a result of the torture by the morality police. The police initially denied that. The Iranian regime denied that, and they said that she was died as a result of a heart attack, and that was it. And then when the women started protest, against this killing, against this death, then the Iranian regime used brutal force to suppress the protesters. But that is from in September, and from September, October, November, and now in December, all the efforts of the Iranian regime to crush the protest movement failed. The Iranian women showed determination and courage. They continue protesting despite nearly 400 protesters were killed, including teenage girls and including 50 children. They were killed on the streets in the when the Iranian regime used brutal state power, the police and the paramilitary, to crush the protests. And they threatened the protesters. They arrested thousands of protesters, and according to some reports, between 12,000 and 14,000 protesters were arrested during that nearly 4 months period. And but Iranian regime failed to crush the protest movement, and the women continued. And this protest movement finally forced the Iranian regime to retreat. And now the Iranian regime has announced to disband the special unit of the police called the morality police, or the guidance patrols as they're known in Iran. And now they have been disbanded, and but still the laws are there. But that is a big achievement. That's a big victory of the protest movement. That's the first time that the Iranian regime has retreated, and they caved in to the demands, the popular demands on the street. And the Iranian women and this movement was led by the young women activists, and it is unprecedented movement. And in all the previous movements, like in 2009, 10, 2017, and then 2019, the women did participate in these movements. But the current movement is different in the sense that it is led by the women. The women are leading it, and the young females on a local level, they are actually organizing and coordinating these protests and this movement, and they have successfully continued their protest despite all the oppression and repressive measures used by the Iranian regime. And now finally the Iranian regime retreated on this demand, and they have said, okay, we are disbanding that morality police. Why? Because the problem was that this morality police was using high-handed tactics and high-handed methods to enforce the Islamic dress and this mandatory scarf ban. They the laws to implement the dress code, Islamic dress code, in which the women, it is mandatory for the women to wear scarves to cover their head, to cover their hair, and to wear a loose cloth over their, to cover their body, and that is mandatory. And any violation of that dealt with the severe punishments like public beatings on the street, arrests, and the fines. So, and this special unit of this police to implement these dress code and these laws regarding the headscarf, was this unit was established by President Ahmadinejad when he was president in 2000, when he became the president, and he asked this police unit to forcefully implement the dress code and the scarf laws. And they started to beat women, they started to arrest women, and they were used to search malls, shops, even the houses to confiscate the dish antennas and VCRs and the others. And so they were heavily involved and indulged to violate the private life of the Iranian citizens, and there was a widespread hatred and anger against this morality police. And during in last because these laws were, as I said, was imposed in 1983 after 4 years of the Islamic Revolution, and in between, like in 1990s, when Muhammad Khatami, the moderate president, was elected, he relaxed these laws. Ahmadinejad again forcefully implemented it, but then Hassan Rouhani was elected twice as president. He also relaxed these laws. And but after the victory of Ibrahim Raisi, the hardline president, and in the parliamentary elections, the hardliners, they won the overwhelming majority. And since then, they emboldened, and they decided to implement the dress code and all these laws more forcefully. And so the opposition to these laws also developed and grows in the Iranian society, and especially in the women, and especially among the young women. And that was one issue. The other issues for the women are because in the universities and the colleges, the 60% students are women, but their unemployment rate is double than the male unemployment, and also their wages are much lower compared to the male managers, workers, engineers, doctors, and all the others. The female, they get less wages, they get less privileges, and all these things. And so there was a huge discontentment among the young female population of Iran, and the killing of the young 22 years old young Kurdish Iranian women, it just fueled and it just triggered the revolt. And we have seen that in last 4 months, that how bravely, how courageously the Iranian women have faced the brutal state power and state force, and they continued their struggle, and as the result, so finally they have retreated, and now this notorious morality police has been shut down or has been disbanded. But the Iranian regime might come up with a new police or new institution or a new force to implement these laws, because for this hardline reactionary clerical regime in Iran, they consider this ban, this scarf and the dress code, the essence of its Islamic values and the essence of the Islamic revolution, and they don't want to completely retreat, and they also don't want to give the impression or the message to the Iranian masses that the Iranian regime is weak and they're not in a position to fully or completely implement. And so the time being, they have retreated, but they will come back. They will introduce some other force or some other form to implement these laws. The laws are there, but it will become increasingly difficult for the Iranian regime to implement it forcefully and to try to confine the Iranian women in the social life and to their homes. So this movement gets support from all sections of the society: poor, rich, liberals, moderate, religious, and that is why the Iranian regime felt a lot of pressure as a result of this movement, and the support was growing for the for the women protests, and the crackdown was also was not taken very positively by the big majority of the population, and because the children were killed, the young teenage women were killed, girls were killed. So there was a retaliation against that, all these tactics, and so finally the Iranian women has forced the regime to retreat on this issue, and in my view, that this protest movement, will encourage the other sections, the workers, the students, the other sections of the Iranian population to come out on the street and to protest, and because these women, they have lost the fear of the Iranian regime. It's a brutal regime which deal the protesters as enemies, and they use the brutal force to crush the whenever the masses come out on the streets in Iran. But that shows that how determined and how brave and the courageous the Iranian women are, and how they have lost the fear of the state power, the brutality, arrests, the killings, and they come over that fear, and now they are coming out on the daily basis, and they are expressing themselves on the streets, and so this movement might be the beginning of many more movements developing, and forcing the Iranian regimes further to retreat, and the demand for the reforms might again become much more forceful, much more popular, and we might see a more popular revolts in the coming days. That's enough for today. Thanks very much.